pretty baby. Oh, alright, listen. I've been waiting for so long, girl, yeah, to be with you alone, girl, yeah, yeah. Move your back against the wall, girl. Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl. No, no, no. You don't have to feel no pressure. We got all the night, no stress, girl. Go ahead and get undressed, girl. We can do it all the night, and I promise you, I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do it. The same girl, I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same girl. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. Oh, baby, please don't stop. No, we'll take it to the top, girl, yeah, yeah. We can do it all night long, just me and you alone. Oh, baby, you're so beautiful, beautiful. You don't have to feel no pressure. We got all the night, no stress, girl. Go ahead and get undressed, girl. We can do it all the night, and I promise you that my name, I know you make me do it. The same girl, I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same girl. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. Let's take it to another level. Let's fly all the way up to heaven. Hey, I love the way you put it down, girl. Love the way you make me feel. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, girl. I will make you scream. Make you scream. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. Make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, girl. I will make you scream my name. I know you make me do the same, baby. Make me scream your name. Oh, 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 I make you scream my name. Oh, 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 you make me scream your name. Oh, oh, I make you scream my name. You make me scream your name.
I ain't trying to bother. You're moving me in all the right ways. Waiting for the signal. I wanna go down and watch it fall down. Down. You give me the green light. Speeding like there ain't no stop sign. My eyes set on the prize, yeah. I wanna go down. I wanna go down. But damn, it feels good when you jump on it. Scars on my chest like you own it. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Dear girl, we don't even have to stop it. Take you higher than a real rocket. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Yeah. Your body's out in motion. Like a Mona Lisa come to life. Pin you on my wall and pull you back down. watch you slide down. Let me drink you in. Oh, selfish lovers drink for free. Spin you around my glass and watch you fall down. Pull you back down. But damn, it feels good when you jump on it. Scars on my chest like you own it. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Dear girl, we don't even have to stop it. Take you higher than a real rocket. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Damn, it feels good. Good, good, good. Damn, it feels good. Oh, so good, so good. So but damn, it feels good when you jump on it. Scars on my chest like you own it. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Dear girl, we don't even have to stop it. Take you higher than a real rocket. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. But damn, it feels good when you jump on it. Scars on my chest like you own it. You can have my last name if you want it. If you want it, if you want it. Dear girl, we don't even have to stop it. Take you higher.
All right, all right.
You can have my last name if
What's going on, everyone? Hopefully, you guys can hear me properly. Can you guys hear me? I know we've got a bad connection, so I apologize for the technical issues we're having. I haven't been on live for a while, so all this stuff is just getting crazy on me. Can you guys hear me well? I know the stream isn't as good quality as I would like to have it, but can you hear me? So if someone can just uh put it in the chat and let me know if you can hear me, I would truly truly appreciate that. There's quite a few of you here already, so let me know if you can hear me. Am I coming in okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to see you guys. Good to see every one of you. Man, I tell you, it's been quite a while since I was on this live, and hopefully you guys missed me. I know you did because I've gotten quite a few emails from a lot of my long time subscribers who were wondering what's going on. I've just been busy and uh been busy with life, and I wanted to take some time out away from the whole social media space to really work on quite a few things. You know, I want to take some time out to just kind of detox, if you will. We all need to do that sometimes. Take some time away from all the noise and craziness that life offers sometimes, and just kind of detox. And I have been doing quite a lot of soul searching, if you will. Quite a lot of um, meditation and trying to figure out exactly what's more important, especially at this stage in my life. What's important to me. So I intentionally just kind of withdrew from all of this stuff going on. I've been paying attention to what's been going on, what's been going on, but I wanted to just detach myself from a lot of that to really I'm on a spiritual journey where I'm trying to discover self. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, and I think it's important. I will urge you to do it. Once in a while, you take some time out for yourself, try to figure out who you are, what's the next phase uh, that you want to embark on.
what's important. Um, and you might be surprised to learn a few things. I know for me, the few things that I discovered doing that was that the stuff that I've really been pursuing over the years have not really been important. You know, when we live in the culture that we live in, we tend to chase a lot of material stuff. We chase a lot of irrelevant things. I mean, they're irrelevant to me now, especially with the knowledge of self and the journey that I'm on. And you discover a lot about yourself. You discover the power that you hold, but at the same time, it's a painful place too, because you find things about you that you probably didn't want to confront, right? Things about yourself that you didn't want to confront. And you're forced to confront those things. You're forced to look at the man in the mirror. And there's a painful part about that because first, you hate what you see once you confront those facts and truth about yourself. And then secondly, the work that needs to be done. It's also a painful part. However, it's a good thing because it brings growth. It brings elevation. It brings a clarity and understanding of life and what's important. And for me now, I'm discovering what's important in my life, especially at this stage, and what I absolutely want to represent moving forward. And so it was a good learning. I'm still on the journey. I'm by no means discovered all the answers that I want. However, it's been really good. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to stay fit. So I get up every morning and I do my workout before starting work. I'm spending time with obviously people that I love, and it's been really good. And I would advise you all to kind of do that. Tune out the noise. There's a lot of noise, and we're going to talk about one of each day. We're going to talk about one on one because I wasn't quite sure when to come back on this platform. I wasn't. It wasn't going to be anytime soon, to tell you the truth. I wasn't planning on coming back to the platform anytime soon because I really enjoyed being away and really working on what I'm working on right now. However, the man we're going to be talking about today, Ibrahim Traore, is a man whom I really deeply respect. Truly respect him. He's about the only one in Africa, as it relates to leaders, that I really care about. I don't care about the other ones. Ibrahim Traore is the only one in Africa that I really care about. And following seeing what's going on in the news, especially with Michael Langley, who is a general, he's a leader and he's the one heading the AFRICOM initiative in Africa. We'll talk about that. Recently made a disparaging remark against Burkina Faso, against our beloved leader, and what he's doing over there. And I was like, oh, hold on a second. I got to come out and talk about this. Especially because if you understand the last few months that I've been on and what I've been really focusing on as it relates to self and what's important, and many of you on this program, I would like to believe that many of you that follow me on this channel are those who are seeking self-awareness, those who are trying to elevate their African consciousness. If you're not the one, then I don't know what you're doing on this channel. if you're not trying to elevate your African consciousness, I don't know why you're here. Maybe you saw a video and you enjoyed that video and now you're here, but I would imagine that YouTube has served you quite a few of my videos, so you know what my channel is about, right? And so if you're still stuck around, then maybe you are part of that group of people who are seeking African consciousness. But like I said, because of the journey I'm on, I should say, and because of the trying to elevate self, my African consciousness, and really tap into that trueness of what it means to be African. Try tap into what it means to be a good person. I believe if you're an African and you're of African spirit and consciousness, you are who we can remark as a good person because you are the first creation on this planet. And so you are the one who was entrusted with all the secrets of life. And so imagine my shock that a man like him who is living up to what we have all hoped for is getting slammed and disparaged by a guy from the West, Michael Langley, who we're going to be talking about. So I had to come out of that whole. I had to come out. I was just like, hold on, let me come out and let me see what's going on here, because it's not going to happen. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to play you a short clip of video, which is going to really drive the conversation that we're going to be having today. And then we're going to talk about the recent coup on his life. There's another attempt. And I'm going to tell you again what's behind that. But can you all hear me well? Because I think the quality now should be a lot better. You know, I'm doing my little technical fixes behind the closed door here. And I like the video. There's quite a few of you here. Don't just kind of. I know my voice is soothing. I know you all like to hear me talk, but like the damn video. Okay. Like the video. Before we get into this video, you know, back again, we're going to be here for a minute. So if you've got something to do, you need to go ahead and do it. You need to go ahead and do it. You know, don't watch CJ if you got something to do. You go get it done. Because I'm going to take my time with this because I want to talk to us, especially with the fact that I haven't been around for a while. There's a whole lot I want to share with you guys. There's a whole lot. A whole lot. And hopefully you're able to receive it. If you've been paying attention, right? If you've been paying attention, and I have been, even though I've not been online, I've not been on the internet. I'm pretty much online most of the time because I have to work, you know. So I'm always constantly, but I'm tuned into what's going on, and what's going on is not good. What's going on is not good. There's a lot of there's a depression, and there's a huge problem that is clouding our civilization, especially here in the United States. If you don't know what's been going on, there's a huge depression. The job market is horrible. The housing market is horrible. People are getting laid off. People are losing their homes. Poverty rate in the United States has dramatically increased over the last couple of months. Things are not good, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse to the point that I think that from the trajectory and from what I'm sensing, it's going to be the opposite effect of what we're seeing right now. You see, what we're hearing in the news right now is everyone is beating their chest and they're talking about deportation. There's going to come to a point where everyone's going to want to leave the United States, and the United States is going to discourage people from wanting to leave their country. I'll talk about that later on. Because the economic state of the country is not good. The country right now is borderline teetering on recession. It's I think we're already in one. They don't want to call it yet. You know, so there's a whole lot going on. However, public sentiment, consumer sentiment is not good, and that's what leads to depression. People aren't happy. People are lonely. People are battling depression. There's a lot of internal rotting that's going on. And so it's a time I would urge people, it's a time for you to tap into self and discover exactly who you are and what you like to represent and what's important to you. You know, what is important? What is important? And I understand that not everyone is where I am, or not everyone is in the same place, and I get it, and I'm not here to judge anyone. Trust me, I'm not here to judge you because we're all in different parts in our lives. But I will urge you that try to find out more than what's in the surface area. See, the surface area is what we all are doing every day. Go to work, feed our family. Many of us believe that our security job is it, and it's not. I mean, look at what's going on with the federal workers. I mean, there used to be a time in this country up until this administration came in where when you worked in the government, when you had a federal job, it's not easy to get one of those jobs. But when you work with the federal government, you were secured forever. And it was up until it was like that. Look what's happened. The displacement of federal workers who are now forced to go into the private sector. And in turn, look at what happens in the private sector, because what essentially happens is now we have hundreds of thousands of displaced federal workers who now have to go into the private sector and compete for the jobs that a lot of people in the private sector are still trying to figure out and trying to plug in. So what happens to the salary? What happens to the salary, the average salary for that particular position, which now increases the number of people applying for it? So the only people that are happy about that now are corporations, because they get to pay you less than what they normally pay, because now there's quadruple amount of people vying for that same job. So then what happens to to your lifestyle, right? You have to adjust the lifestyle, because if you created a lifestyle for $55,000 a year or $60,000 a year, you have this home that you're barely paying a mortgage, and now either you lose your job or have to get another job, lateral move. That job doesn't pay $65 anymore, and now it pays $50,000 anymore. What happens to your lifestyle? So there's a whole lot of that going on, right? And when you listen to the news, when you watch what's going on in the news, you would think that all is well. All is not well. And it is going to get dramatically worse. It is going to get dramatically worse, to the point where homelessness is going to rise. And people are not going to be able to survive because they don't know how to handle this new situation they're in. Divorce rates are already going up the roof. It's going to increase. The United States is about to become like Japan, where depression is like the number one killer in that country. Right? So when you watch the news, there's a lot of covering of what's going on. People covering it up. They don't want it, because if it's in the mainstream media, then it will expedite depression. It will expedite recession. It will kill consumer confidence. They don't want to do that. I remember when I was in New York, when they finally called the 2008 situation. Recession was in 2007, but of course, the general consensus is that recession happened in 2008. No, it happened in 2007. I remember in New York, I was in the financial sector. It happened. It actually hit in 2007, but it wasn't in 2008 that they officially called it. So the media in 2007 kept pushing out this whole narrative. I remember this like it was yesterday. If you guys, I mean, a lot of you, if you're 30 years old or in your late 20s, you remember this, right? A lot of people they didn't want to kill the confidence of society. That's what's going on right now. Right? That's what's going on. The economy is not good. It is not. And if you live in the United States, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to tell you what's going on. You know what I'm talking about. If you live in the United States, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to tell you. But that's a message for another day, right? But the point of all of that is take care of yourself. Take some time to find out and discover what's more important in life. Because I can tell you, your car, your house, your little fancy stuff is not. It's not important. Love the ones that you're with, your loved ones, whoever it is, your spouse, your kids. Love those ones. Spend the time with those. Find out, spend more time with them, and make time for that which matters. And all this other stuff, those that don't matter. So anyway, that's about it. That's all I have for that. Okay, let's get into this. Let me play you a video real quickly. I want to talk about this because can you guys hear me? What I feel like you guys cannot hear me. Why are we so quiet today? Can you hear me? So I'll put a 1 in the chat that you can hear me, please. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. 1 yay, 2 nay. Somebody put a, see, you can't hear me. Otherwise, I'm not getting responses. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Put a 1 in the chat. Thank you, Himotep Huru. Heru, right? Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Let me play this video for you guys. So let's listen because we're gonna have a good discussion about this. So let's get into it. Let's get into this video because I've got quite a few things that I want to hit you guys up with. Because we gotta talk about this man right here. Okay. All right. So let's play this video and I'll be right back.
ID and the other things like the President's Initiative on AIDS. How does our U.S. approach compare and contrast to the approach of Russia in Africa and also Communist China in Africa?
Oh, Chairman, we've always had the lead. So what you're seeing in those two competitors or challengers, they're following in our wake. They see what works as far as our influence and deepening partnerships through those soft powers, whether it be health diplomacy or whether it be in development type programs. So they're following in our wake, trying to replicate what we do best. And I think the African countries know this, and so this is where, as we start to look at going forward, as State Department starts to reset these programs, looking at what worked and what didn't work, and doubling down on what does work. I think we have enough capital built up in these countries for them to ensure their stabilization and also prosperity. The other two competitors are just trying to replicate what we do best.
I can imagine a situation, though, in which the ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side that inure to the benefit of the strongman leader and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Tory and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across. Even in Sudan, what's going on with the rapid support forces and Burhan of the Sudan forces, when you get down to it, is all about the revenue that can be drawn out of that. And there are nefarious actors actors in the CCP or in sometimes Russia are complicit in those activities.
Okay, well, you can't imagine how frustrating it seems to me that this mineral-rich continent has not been able to move to a utilization of the resources to benefit the people there. After all this time, it's a puzzle that we haven't unwound. Let me.
Okay, hopefully you guys heard that. Okay, so let's talk about this because there's quite a lot to unpack in that one, and there's nothing that really pisses me off when I hear parasites act like they really care about our continent. You know, oh, it baffles us. We still don't know why this mineral-rich continent has not been able to help their local, right? And you hear that, and you would, if you don't know the history of the United States and how they've been largely the ones that have really fueled the poverty and the exploitation of Africa. You would think that that guy really means well. You know, the chairman of the and I'm guessing this is the arms committee. They are so bothered by the presence of China in Africa. See, when you hear General Michael Langley, this is who he is. This is Michael Langley here. You know, this is General Michael Langley. This is who he is. He is the commander, right? Supposedly the sixth commander of the AFRICOM initiative, which is the Africa Command. This is the whole initiative with the United States and other partnering countries to really kind of put bases in Africa and put Africa at gunpoint so they can monitor the exploitation of their mineral resources. It's also a way to threaten Africa or fund all the coups and destabilization that's been going on in Africa over the years. That's how they're able to do it. So that program, and there's been reports about that program and how the CIA and the U.S. government have been initiatives backing a lot of those radical groups that we see in Africa. So that's the whole program. The program is there to do a few things: keep an eye on our minerals, the exploitation of it, and also fund a lot of the destabilization so they can then get the resources, right? That's a whole AFRICOM program because why else are they there, right? That's the whole problem. And so when you hear General Langley say things like, you know, China and these other places are copying the United States, and they're so bothered by that, is because the United States has realized that when it comes to African sentiment, the confidence that Africans generally have for the West is not a good one. The United States and the West realize this. They know that when it comes to the sentiment, their positioning, the sentiment that Africans, me, you, people who live in Africa, people who live in the diaspora, the sentiment they have for the West, the United States, Britain, is not a good one. People don't see them as friends of Africa. So when they see the embrace of China and all of that, it's essentially, according to the likes of General Langley, right, is they got to look for one that we love, in this case, Ibrahim Traore, and say, oh, he's funding insurgency. He's using the minerals, the one that we are supposed to be stealing and we've been stealing for years. He and China are using to fund their illegitimate government. That is whole stance. It's not, they're not helping their people. They're not really helping to use those minerals to better the lives of their people. Because when we were robbing them, we were using it to better the lives of their people. That is exactly what he's telling me and you, is that when they were robbing us, and they've been doing that since the 1800s, right? They are exploitation. The reason why, which is why when that guy says, the chairman says, I don't understand, I don't get it. How is it that this rich continent, right, has not been able to improve the lives of their own people? He sits there and he says that on national television, knowing fully well that he signs the policies that keeps us poor so they can get our minerals. Are you with me? Do you understand what I'm saying here? So he's like, I don't get it. Because there's a new player in town. There's somebody that Africans are more comfortable with doing business with. Now, again, let me be clear. Right? Let me be clear. China or any other, but they're not a friend of Africa either. Right? They're not. Now, the sentiment that most Africans will have about China is one: China did not put Africa in slavery. Right? Most Africans know this. They didn't go there and steal our people and put them in slavery. That's one. Secondly, the loans and for the project, and I've covered this countless times on this program, those loans that they give to Africa, right? They're not predatory. They're not predatory loans. In other words, the interest rate on those loans are not predatory. They're not there to grab whatever they want to grab, right? There's obviously a collateral that you have to put up, right? That's normally what happens if you go to the bank. The bank asks you, it's a common practice. What do you put up to back their loan? So you have to put up a collateral. So a lot of them put up minerals. But the payment back to these loans, they're not predatory. Compared to the loans that the United States has given they've gotten from the IMF. I mean, the Africa has gotten from the IMF under the backing of the United States. Those have been the worst things that have happened to Africa. So again, when I hear the hypocrisy from that gentleman that says, "Oh, hold on a second, I don't get it. How come they're not talking to us. He's talking to his white media, right? The people that watch that. They're not talking to us, right? So the people that watch that are usually the people that they sit comfortably in their countries, in the United States, and they live off of our resources lavishly. So those are the ones he's talking to, because he can never say that with a straight face, talking to an African network, an African audience, because he knows they're going to have to turn that comment section off. Like, what are you talking about? You're the reason why our continent is poor. You won't leave us alone. So you have a guy like Ibrahim Traore, who we are proud of. And understand that Ibrahim Traore is a problem for the likes of General Michael Langley. It's a problem. Why? Because Ibrahim Traore offers something that they haven't seen in a while: hope. And he's doing something that he's having the backing of not just his own people, but a lot of African as well as white people and black people in the diaspora have a huge respect for him, because he's standing up to the establishment. He's standing up to the establishment. He stood up against them. So here's the issue. Here's his sin. Here's Ibrahim Traore's crime. In this case, the gold. He talked about the gold mineral, that he's using that to fund his government. No, because we Africans and we who have been paying attention, who know, and they know that it's not true. They know that's not true. But it's propaganda. It's designed to kill his popularity. The smear campaign. What did Ibrahim Traore do last year when we saw him? He kicked out the British mining company who has been exploiting their gold minerals. because now he's building that to build his own country. Since the man came in power, the GDP of Burkina Faso has increased by almost 2% since he came into office. That is a man who they call a dictator. A man who says, hold on, listen, we need you to leave us to do for ourselves. A man who cut his own salary and says he's not taking any salary. He cut his own salary as well as his minister's salary. Verifiable facts to better the lives of his own people. A man who improved agriculture, farming, by funding those resources so that way his people can have food. A man who is securing the borders of his country, partnering with forces to expand the national security in his country, so that way his country is not exploited anymore. Burkina Faso, as well as the other countries, are one of the poorest in Africa in terms of economic. But in terms of minerals, they're one of the richest ones. But they've never been able to enjoy that because the likes of France over the years have assassinated goodwill leaders before Ibrahim Traoré, who were trying to nationalize their minerals so they can better their lives. So they're like, no, we got to get him out. The same way they're attempting a coup in his life. He's been several, and I'm going to talk about the most recent one. Because they got to get him out. Because the likes of the AFRICOM program is to exploit Africa and to ensure that they can easily disperse and deploy our troops in that area should they need to go ahead and just topple a government covertly. Okay. So when we see the likes of what's going on, one of the things that's going to be a problem for the United States, and then this is the program they follow, the type of playbook they go with, is if you cut the head, right, the leader at the top with Africa, which is what they've used many times in Africa, it seemed to work. Any charismatic African leader who has the backing of his people, if they just assassinate him, the rest would just fall in place. That's usually been their strategy, and it's always worked. I mean, look at what happened with Gaddafi. Look at what happened with Libya. Look at what's happened with even Burkina Faso back in the days with their leader. And that's usually what happens. And essentially what they're doing is that they're trying to gun for this guy. They know if they take him out using neighboring countries, Ivory Coast, playing the role, through proxy war. Proxy wars are the latest ways large countries like the United States and many other ones in the East and the West use to destabilize Africa. They don't need to go in there and send people anymore for them. They don't need to kill them. They use proxy wars, which is why these AFRICOM programs are very, very important. So they can use proxy wars. They can just fund whatever groups that have an agitation against a particular. They can always find one, or they can just create one. It's usually the way they do it. So they can then destabilize or topple any regime. So if they can get him out through neighboring countries, it's something that is easy for them to do because they can just fund Ivory Coast and say, hey, fund the corrupt leaders over there. You get this guy out. Look at what's going on with Congo right now, with Rwanda and Congo. We know what's happening over there. Look what's happening in Sudan. So this is all proxy wars. It's a way for the U.S. to stand back and say, hey, we're not part of this. Is these Africans that are killing each other? Yeah, right. Okay. So Burkina Faso responded to this, which I think they shouldn't have responded. So they responded to Langley, and I'm going to read what they said. And I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know why they responded. But it says Burkina Faso slams AFRICOM commander for claims that Burkina Faso is cooperating with China. Okay, so the Burkina-based Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation, and Burkina Board have condemned the recent statement made by the U.S. General Michael Langley. commander of the United States AFRICOM program, regarding the country's management of its mineral resources and foreign partnership. So the general has suggested that Burkina Faso's mineral revenues and some incomes from cooperation with China were used to maintain the regime's power rather than benefiting the population. The minister expressed outrage at what he described as unfounded allegations, warning that such assertions not only misrepresent the country's reality, but also damages the image of the government. The statement criticizes Langley for making sweeping claim without presenting evidence and for disregarding the country's evolution as sovereign policy direction. The ministry highlighted efforts underway to fight corruption, ensuring transparency and equitable distribution of national wealth. It also pointed an ongoing reform to key sectors such as agriculture, water, infrastructure. I don't know why they responded. Why? Why did you respond? That's my whole thing. Why? Who cares what the United States thinks? You see, what Burkina Faso is falling into, and I hope that they will not do that again, is that they validate what Michael Langley is saying. Who cares what he thinks? You know what you're doing in your country. They see the sentiment. They see what's happening. They see how people are loved and what the public sentiment about Ibrahim Traore, his people, and what's going on over there. You don't need to respond because the Western propaganda will always do its thing. They're always going to do that. They're Western propaganda for a reason. They did that to pull him out. It's a strategy because now what happens essentially is that tomorrow when they make another false claim, right? Because you respond to this, you have to respond to the next one. And so now you're chasing your tail because they'll just, and that's how they penetrate your weak point. You don't respond to that. Let them think whatever. You keep doing what you're doing for your country. Who cares what General Langley thinks about what you're using your minerals to do to benefit your own people? What is his business with your minerals? Let him worry about his own country. Right? That is a sentiment that I would say. Worry about your country. Because that's a sentiment that you hear often from a lot of people from the West. Africa needs to worry about Africa. Africa needs to deal with Africa. Africa needs to build itself up. And when we're doing it now, you find people from the West say stuff like, oh, they're not doing it to benefit the lives of their own people. As though when the West has been robbing Africa since the 1800s, they were doing it to benefit Africans. So you don't need to respond to him. Who cares? We know what's going on. We know this. And so what? Even if China is funding Africa, even if Africa is partnering with China, right? Is that a sin? Is that an unforgivable sin? I guess if you live in the West, it is, right? I guess if you live here in the West, it is. It is a sin that you are so-called you're trying to get away from those who are exploiting you, and you're going towards someone who gives you a favorable relationship. I guess it's the worst thing that can happen to you. So if I were Ibrahim Traore, I wouldn't respond. I would never again respond to whatever the West says, because Ibrahim Traore is a smart man. He said it, and I've covered it many times on his channel, how the Western propaganda has been damaging for Africa, and he always tunes it off. One of the reasons why we love him so much is because he exposes the Western propaganda. He's like, please go away with this nonsense, right? This is why he's been loved and respected. They don't need to respond to that, right? I support what he's doing in terms of, especially with the gold minerals for his country, building a refinery to refine their gold so that they can benefit the lives of their people, selling it to neighboring countries at fair value so that way his country can be successful. We support that. They're not doing that to benefit, because what you hear them say is that they're funding their government. No, they're funding their country. So that is nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, that's nonsense. Here's what I believe, and I'll get to the other story. You see, when you look at one of the things the United States, and you're going to start to see this very, very soon, is the United States needs Africa. And we know this, right? It's also evident in the number of deportation that this administration has even done. If you look at the Africans that were deported, there were more Chinese and Indians deported out of the United States than there were African citizens. United States wants to buddy up with African citizens because the way they hope to buy our trust again, right, so they can keep exploiting our continent, is to ensure that they're not too harsh on us, the diasporans here on the continent, so they keep raping us the way we've been doing, so they keep doing that, right? So they will continue that, and you're going to see campaigns where Africans are going to be, it's going to be a buddy system, because they need to win back that relationship. Because as I mentioned earlier on, the public view, Africans' public view, right, and sentiment about the West is not good. Our eyes have opened. We know that they are parasites. You're not about to convince unless you have one of those bootlickers, like the one in England, and many of them that are around. Even some of you watching me too. The ones that lick the boots of white people, and they think that no, those ones, right? Who will hee ha ha no matter what. We're not talking about those. But we talk about most Africans. Most Africans know. If you took a poll today and asked most Africans, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you took a poll today and asked most Africans, where would you rather live? If you asked most Africans in the West, if you could afford basic living, we're not talking about even average, basic living of life, where would you rather live? Africa or United States or the West? Most Africans will say they will live on their continent. Most Africans, I guarantee you, if you just ask any African, with what we go through here, right? If you could afford basic necessity of life, and I'm talking about just a shelter, if I'm lying, put it in the chat. If you could afford just a basic way of life, right? Where there's electricity, there's water, and you have shelter. The basic stuff. Where would you rather live? Most of us will say we'll be back in our countries. If I'm lying, leave it in the chat. I'll wait. If I'm lying, leave it in the chat. Right? Because the love of most of us, because we're Africans to the core. We love our continent no matter what. I mean, it baffles a lot of people. Right? It baffles a lot of people that Africans will speak highly of their continent, knowing the sufferings of that continent. It baffles them because there is something in us that connects us to that continent. You can't take it, you can't destroy it. You can destroy the flesh and the body. You can't kill the African spirit. It's the reason why the Creator created that and put us all in that place. That's why you can't. Most of us do not want to be here. Especially when you get to your older age. When I mean older, I'm not talking about in the 60s and 70s. I'm talking about when you're in the 40s, right? When you're 40, most people get weary of being here. Like, why am I here? Right? Which is why they got to keep exploiting that place, and because they need us here. You don't understand what's going on. They don't want you out of here. I know that's what you think. They don't want you out of here. They want you here. So stay here and tap into your resources. But the point I'm making is this. It's because Africa is needed. And the United States understands that it's lost its place with Africans, right? Yeah, the dumb leaders that we have, the dumb ones, right? They know those ones with social media now, they can't control their masses anymore because now the dumb ones, their horrible and disgusting skirts can be seen and exposed all over the world. So those ones have lost the grip of their own. They know they can't use the dumb leaders to control their people anymore or to lie to their people like they used to lie. They can't do that anymore because we have social media now, which is why you saw the outrage in many countries, east of Africa, Kenya. You've seen the ones that happen in the Sahel. You've seen the one that happened in the West. You see Ghana, you see Nigeria, you see a lot of these countries. There's uproar against their leadership, things that we've not seen over the years. We saw them in the last 3 years, 4 years. So the public sentiment against the West is not good. Not to mention the European ones, right? How many of you love France? Who? Right? Who loves France? Raise your hands. Who loves France? Most people will tell you no. Who? Right? And we learned about France over the last, we got to hate that whole country. Right? Over the last 3, 4 years. The same sentiments we have for, and we don't hate them as a people. Right? We don't hate them and dislike them like, oh, I just hope you die as if, no, we don't hate them. We hate what they represent and what they've caused us and cost us and our continent at their own benefit. That's what we hate. We don't hate them as a people, right? We'd rather you stay over there. This is what they practice. This is what they preach. They say they want to stay in their region and they want us to stay in our own corner. Right. I'm for that. I'm for us. Everyone stay in your own corner, right? Africans stay on the continent. White people stay on the other side of the world. Don't cross over. That's how we had it. We were good with that. But no, they took ships and came to our continent because they wanted what we have. And so when we have our leaders who are standing up for us, you have the guys like this guy. Of course, they have to use a black man. I don't know if you notice that he's a black man. Right? Again, proxy war. Okay. So let's talk about the assassination attempt. So it says Burkina Faso's government announced the dismantling of another coup attempt. Right? Okay. So on Monday, the evening of April 21st, Burkina Faso's military authorities announced that they had dismantled a major plot aimed at promoting a coup in West Africa. The announcement was made by the Ministry of Security, Mohamedou Sana, who stated that the leaders of the coup attempted an alleged base coup in Cote d'Ivoire. So this is Ivory Coast under President Alassane Ouattara. According to the minister, the plan of the terrorists will be carried out on April 16, 2025, through an assault on Burkina Faso's president by soldiers recruited by the enemies of the nation. The assault was planned to take place simultaneously with other large-scale terrorist attacks. The minister added that the plot masterminds are still active in Ivory Coast capital, Abidjan. The coup attempts are all housed in neighboring countries, Sana says in his announcement on the country's state. The plot was identified after the government intercepted messages between a Burkina Faso's military officer and head of the terrorist group discussing details about the position of the Defense Security Force and military operations. According to the government, the information sent to the terrorists was intended to escalate attacks against the security forces and civilians of the government of Ibrahim Traoré, aiming to stir up revolt against the authorities. You wanna guess who's paying for that? Right? You wanna guess who's paying? See, this is the part I don't get. This is the part I don't get. And here's where I'm about to hold us accountable. I don't get what's wrong with Africans. I don't get it. What is the problem with Africans? When are we going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired? When are Africans going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired? They can collect money from white people from the West, knowing your history, every leader in Africa knows at least some form of the history in Africa. Every citizen, at least most citizens, I will hope, are aware of the history, infiltration of a lot of the agents against Africa who fund a lot of this stuff. When are Africans going to say enough is enough, that hold on, to hell with your money? I am not going to stand against one of my own. I may not agree with him. I may not like some of his policies, but I am not going to take money from you so I can topple one of my own because I disagree with him, just so you can keep exploiting that continent. When is Africa going to get to that place? Because apparently we're so far from that. At least one of the things I will give to white people, and I have to give them this, is that even while a lot of people might disagree with Trump, right? With a lot of the stuff that he's doing, you find Democrats. They're Democrats, silent majority, right? Who will never come out and criticize. They love what he's doing in certain extent. They will never criticize it. Because they know it's for the benefit of the country. You may disagree with some of his policies, but you will not find an overwhelming sentiment, right? This is why they're different from us, where they know that if it's something that benefits their own country, they're all going to fall behind it. You'll find a few voices, right? Because there's got to be an opposition. But even within that opposition, you'll find people who agree with what he's saying because it benefits the country at the end of the day. So when is Africa going to get to that point where we don't cause the demise of our own and shoot ourselves in the foot because we disagree with a leader in a country who is doing for his own people? It would be one thing if he came in there, back in the days, like we've seen a lot of dictators in Africa, and we all know them, right? Forget the ones that they've demonized, but we know the ones that are dictators. Come on now, we know the ones. We know some of them, right? Nigeria had a few, right? We know them, but he's none of this. He's helping to improve the lives. You have people in Ivory Coast who are taking money from the West to do the dirty dealings, and their country isn't getting better. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do. Look at this. Look at this right here. It says in Burkina Faso, Traore's legacy could extend beyond popularity and promise. Right? So there's articles that are saying that this man is not just popular in just words. There's an action behind what he's doing. This is what they can't stand. Most Africans are plagued in African countries. The reason why we're poor today . It's because we have a lot of lip service. Africa is talking good game. A lot of the leaders in Africa talk a good game. We've seen it many times play out. I have to admit, when Ibrahim Traore took over in a coup, and he was talking that for a couple of months, I didn't believe a word he said. Because I've seen too many people in Africa say the same thing. But when I saw actions behind his words, I fell in love with him. Because that's different. That's something we don't see. And so that's something that bothers the West, because they know that this is not a man who's just like many of the other African leaders who talk. These are empty nesters. You know, there's a saying in Nigeria that says an empty drum makes the loudest noise. He's putting actions behind it. He's very modest. There was a situation that happened I read about where he was on he took a flight in first class, and the lady, the flight attendant, didn't know who he was, and with her racist self, because he's always in his camouflage. Every time he doesn't go in little fancy stuff, he just goes very modestly. This is the part that they can't stand, is that the man is making a huge impact to where you have everyone. There's no one person that you would speak, that you would bring up the name Ibrahim Traore today. No one. I don't know too many people that would say, "Oh yeah, that's a corrupt leader." Of course, unless you're from Ivory Coast and one of those people that that they paid off, right? But most people have a positive sentiment towards him. Even white people. Because finally, a man that stands up for principle and is doing for his people. Right? At 36 years old, Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traore is the world's youngest president. In stark contrast to Africa's average leaders of 63 years old. Right? It says right here, however, Burkina Faso has since withdrawn from. I'm so glad they left ECOWAS. ECOWAS needs to be shut down. There's nothing working with that one. Nothing. Some of you might get offended by that. Who really cares? ECOWAS is a puppet to the West. There's nothing good about ECOWAS. They need to kill that. So they withdrew from ECOWAS, forming instead the Alliance of the Sahel states with Mali and Niger, countries also run by post-coup administrations. Under Burkina Faso's new transition plan, Traoré may remain in position until 2029. I hope he stays there forever if he continues in this trajectory. His popularity has soared since his ascension to power. Right? At President John Mahama's inauguration in Ghana. You remember, you saw that it was such a beautiful thing to see that during the inauguration of Ghana's new president. Right? And Ibrahim Traoré doesn't go to a lot of places, but he went because he connects with the new president of Ghana. Says in his popularity has soared since his ascension to power. At President John Mahama's inauguration in Ghana on 7th January, Traoré received the loudest applause of all the 21 African states, head of states. These are the things that the likes of Langley sees, and many, and they're bothered by it. Trust me, there is a bullseye on the back of this man. It's our job to protect him. It's our job to protect him. Because he's an African leader, unlike none in a long time. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. Burkina Faso, I said it in one of my videos, and I said that Burkina Faso is about to become a go-to place for a lot of people very, very shortly. very, very shortly. Burkina Faso is about to be a fair because it embodies a lot of what we as Africans are proud of, which is a place and a leader and a country who embodies and embraces and exemplifies Africanism, Pan-Africanism. That is a huge thing. Because I think that with the world, with the way the world is going and all the craziness going on in the world today, what you're finding is a lot of groups coalescing against amongst each other. So white folks are building a coalition, right? And you have certain black group building a coalition. You have Chinese building a coalition. There's a coalition and a community type of thing that's being built in today's era. People are just gathering amongst themselves. It's also a normal thing that people are much kinder and feel comfortable with people that look like that. Like if I run into you and you're a black person, there's always an easy thing for me to be like, hey, what's up, man? I always find it weird when I see a black person walk by, he doesn't acknowledge that. I'm like, look at this idiot. He one of those people. I've seen a few. Most of that we acknowledge each other, like, what's going on? At least we speak to each other. There's that sentiment. Every group feels that way. The point I'm making is that the Burkina Faso is about to be a go-to place for most black people. People are going to want to go there just to be in the presence of the Burkinabe. People who actually fight and rally behind their leader. And they're not letting Western propaganda sway them. That is a type of inspiration that many African countries are going to be, they're admiring today, that many are going to go there. I know for me, the next trip to Africa is going to be to Burkina Faso. My next trip to Africa is going to be Burkina Faso. Right? Because it's about goddamn time that we saw someone like that. And we can't allow them take one of our own away. Not this man. Right? Not this man. So hit the like button. Hit the like button. Come on. Got quite a few people here. Hit the like button. I asked a question in one of my videos. And I don't know, most of you that probably saw the video, you will know exactly the video. And I asked, what would truly make white people happy? What? The question I asked. What would truly make white folks happy? Because here's why I'm asking that question, and I talked about it in that video. Right? Because when we look at the history that white folks have had and the dealings with Africans, it's a sentiment of, it's a hate. Right? We can't stand these Africans. I mean, why else would they take us as slaves and deal with us the way they've dealt with us for years? And why else would they have put policies and subjugated our countries and our continent the way they've done? So, so the question now, the way I'm asking this question is that they don't want us in their land. They don't want us here. They don't want you, me, in their country. Okay, I don't want to be in your country. I really don't. I need you to get out of my country. No, they don't want to leave my country. So they basically don't want me in their country, right? But they want it in their own terms. They want me out to be in my own country, and they want to be in my country, exploiting my country, and I can't say nothing about that. That's not going to work, right? So get out of my country, right? Get out of Africa, and I'll get out of your country. So I don't get the dynamics that what would really make white folks happy, because on one hand, they don't want us in their country, right? You got to go back to your country. Go fix your country. Okay, let's fix our country. You need to stay in your own country. Take your AFRICOM program out of your Africa. Take your corporations out of Africa. Stay in your own region and fix your own and build your own and leave us alone there. That is a problem. That is a problem. No, we can't do that. That's not the deal. Huh? That's not the deal. The deal is we get to be in your country, rape you, steal from you, and you need to shut the hell about it. No, I don't think so, Masa. So that's the part that I'm really like, it aches me, right? Because I'm for everyone. You know, I'm for everyone staying in your own territory, stay in your own area. I'm for that, right? Now I don't like segregation, but forget that. Right? If we're going to practice this nationalism that we're talking about, if we're going to do the nationalism thing, that's okay. Let's stay in Africa. We stay in our continent with the muddy road. We're good with that. You got to get out. You got to go. Take your religion, take your churches, take your culture. You got to go. Leave us back and let us stay in our own area. That, I guarantee you, will benefit Africa more. It benefited us before they showed up in the 1800s. You know what I'm saying? Africa was the only continent that had food. I mean, they remember with all, with our little muddy roads and with our women with their breasts out, the men with the kinky hair, our children with flies all over our faces, walking on barefoot in the muddy road. You know that stuff we know. That stuff somehow kept the continent rich, right? And this other area, the little nice Italian suits and British suit and all of that, they couldn't hold it together. So they had to go over there to those villagers and rob them of their stuff. Imagine that for a second. So somebody put it in the chat, please, because it's a question that we must answer today. Can somebody tell me what would make white people happy? Because somebody put it in the chat. I want to read. I want to read some of this. Can somebody tell me? Will he make them happy if we all left? Can somebody put it in the chat? Is that what we need to gun for? Because if that's the case, we need to all, right? Because apparently when Marcus Garvey was trying to get all of us out of here, that apparently is not going to work, right? They had to deport him because he was trying to get his people out of here. He wasn't, so that's a no. Come on, stop it. You're affecting our labor here. So someone tell me what would truly make white people happy. Someone please help me. I'm trying to understand it. I'm struggling with this. Right? Because I think white people need to be in their own area, in their really nice Porsche road. I'm all for it. Stay in your little gated community. I'm good for that. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. I got no problem. Stay in your little Porsche communities, little gated white picket fence. I'm good with that. I'm good with white people. Yeah, but then leave the Africans on their continent and don't go over there to steal their shit. Somebody let me know. Because apparently Africa is the only continent that can stand on its own. So the next time somebody tells you to leave your country, you tell him you leave my country first. Next time someone tells you leave my country, you say I will when you leave my country. So I guarantee that conversation he would have dead it. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to say this real quickly, and I'm going to be getting to a close here. I'm so proud to be born black. I am so proud and glad I was born black. I am really, you have no idea. Someone's asking me, what do I think about USAID? Let me talk about USAID for real quickly. Somebody just put it in the chat. USAID and the withdrawal of US aid was the best thing that this administration could have done for Africa. If I could hug Trump, right, for what he's doing, I would hug him for that. The withdrawal of foreign aids to Africa was the best thing that this administration could have done for Africa. See, we're not worried about that because that's how they came and exploited our content. Those foreign aids came with condition. That is what they used to steal our minerals. See, when they were giving those aids to a lot of us, to a lot of the continent, most people didn't realize that it came with stipulation. And a lot of those stipulation was to get access to our minerals. So that's exactly what I'm saying right now. So take your USAID aid. We don't want it. It doesn't improve nothing. Because a lot of those things were going towards the HIV prevention program. You know why? Because when they gave those aids towards the healthcare and the HIV program, it was essentially to be able to utilize our people as testing pigs for a lot of the unknown and unapproved drugs on our continent. You thought they gave it to you because they loved you? No, it was a program towards that because they utilized that as a way to practice a lot of those drugs and a lot of those unapproved FDA drugs on our people, which is why there's an epidemic of polio, AIDS, cholera, typhoid, plagues in Africa. It's so they can utilize our people as guinea pigs for that. So take that. Take that away. We don't want it. But you got to get the hell out of our continent too. Don't stay. Take it away. Because I think that he thinks that we are going to, and can you imagine? I saw a few, some few leaders getting bothered by this. Yeah, those are the corrupt leaders who have only benefited from those backroom deals of the USAID, the AIDS. We don't need the AIDS. The AIDS does not help Africa. The aid has been one of the AIDS, the USAID aid, as well as the IMF, are the two predatory things that have kept that continent poor. So when that chairman, whatever, for the Joint Committee says that we don't know why a continent is so rich, a mineral, or have not been able to benefit their people, because you can tell that white lie to your white audience who will buy into that nonsense. We can't tell it to an African audience. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't tell that to an African audience. Who are you talking to? Which African audience are you talking to? Ebola. Yes, thank you. Someone put it in the chat. Ebola outbreak. Those are the things that they've plagued our people with. So they can go in there and write reports and say these things were from Africa. When they were lab experiments that their own scientists went to our countries and practiced it on our villagers, young men and women, killed them, because they're disposable. They're Africans. Huh? Who cares? One of the guys that they're giving us some loans, right? Some USAID loans. Take it away. We don't want it. So that's about the only thing with this administration that I am so I love him for that. Because Africa at this stage does not need the so-called aid from the West. That's what has crippled us to the point. We don't need the aid. We can do for ourselves. Oh, okay. But then that's the problem. Right? They can't let us do for ourselves, because to do for ourselves is to build, right? To become formidable, to become a standalone continent. Because can you imagine if one African country gets it right? One. Can you imagine this cascading effect and how that will rub off on the other African country? Can you imagine the net negative of migration to the West, which benefits the economy as a result of the brain drain, which they rely on? Huh? The whole science and STEM program here will be non-existent if they don't have African students in their country. So they can't afford that. They can't afford that. I say kill that. We don't need USAID. Take it away. You understand what I'm saying? Take it away. See, I'm the type of stuff. See, they're gonna come for me. they're gonna they're gonna come for me. You gotta find like CJ. What happened to CJ? All of a sudden, his channel got his channel got deleted. I don't care, right? Because this type of message that it's not popular, but it's a message that's it's something that we need to hear, right? I'm gonna give it to you real. You're not gonna come up here. See, I'm not with the fluff. I'm not with the BS. I'm not with the hokey doke. I think most people that most of you that watch me, you know that. I'm not with the BS. I'm gonna give it to you real. I'm gonna give it to you straight. See, the truth is poison. What I find out, truth is poison. To those who don't like it, it's poison. People call what is right wrong, and what is wrong right. People are false witnesses because they want to keep their jobs. They want to keep their appearances and their, so they will stand for what is wrong, knowing fully well that is wrong. They'll go with it. That's the time we're living right now. People are afraid to stand for what is true and what is right to speak because they're afraid. People are afraid. And fear is the worst thing. If you're going to conquer anything, conquer your fears. Fear is the worst thing to live by. Sometimes most of you chase your own shadows. You're running for what? You're chasing your own shadows. Most times, no one's even pursuing you. You're just afraid, right? You're afraid if you say that, it could cost you something. You're afraid, even if it does cost you, you're afraid. And I'm in a place where I'm not afraid. I'm just going to tell you to you real. I don't care. I don't really care. right? Because I've come to learn that whoever's going to rock with you is going to rock with you. And whoever's not going to rock with you is not going to rock with you. It doesn't matter what you do. It's just what it is. I'd rather people that rock with me because they are real than fake people. Anyway, thank you all for watching. And like the video, share the content, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.